We'll get started here in about a minute. And I'll start with the introduction, guys, and we'll wait till about 10:15. Oh, well, it's 10:15. My name is Lauren Farmer. I'm with the West Virginia Statewide Afterschool Network, and I am here to introduce our speaker, Jennifer Wotring of the Adventure Group. In 2006, Jennifer joined the Adventure Group and built upon her existing experience to become a skilled presenter, facilitator, and trainer. With over 15 years of experience, Jennifer regularly develops and delivers educational programming and professional development to students, staff, and administrators within school and extended learning programs. Jennifer also serves as a family engagement specialist for the West Virginia Statewide Family Engagement Center, supporting schools across the state in their efforts to increase family engagement. Jennifer excels at providing event planning and logistics facilitation for the organization's events and a variety of other educational clients. Jennifer holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a minor in psychology. Thanks so much for joining us, Jennifer, and we look forward to your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. That was a great introduction. It's like I kind of forget sometimes what I've done over the years. And when you say how long I've been with the Adventure Group, it's really kind of shocking. But as Lauren said, I'm Jennifer Wotring, and I was scrolling down through the participant list as everyone was joining, and I see a lot of familiar names, both from past work that we've done with the After School Network and the 21st Century Community Learning Center programs, but also current work that we're doing with the STEM and Family Engagement Community of Practice. So for those of you that I have not had the opportunity or the pleasure to meet yet, my name is Jennifer Wotring. I am a senior program manager with the Adventure Group in Morgantown, but I'm also a family engagement specialist. We received in 2018 a grant from the U.S. Department of Education for the West Virginia Statewide Family Engagement Center. And so it's been exciting for me in that I've been able to take the knowledge that I've gained over the last 15 years about after-school programs and kind of marry that in with the information and the knowledge that I've been gaining as a family engagement specialist. So we've been involved in after school. I've been involved in after school for the last several years. I've presented at statewide conferences back in the day when they had the big national conference and the multi-state conference. I presented at those as well. And really, what I want to talk to you about today is some of the same kind of information, but a little bit different. I think we're looking at things a little bit differently now, just because things are different. We've realized that post-COVID and after school closures and program closures and virtual programs, that things look different, and it's not all bad. There were a lot of lessons that we learned from that. But the Adventure Group as a whole, we provide a lot of program management, a lot of training, and obviously with the statewide Family Engagement Center, a lot of support to 100 schools across West Virginia on family engagement. And we know that from all of the research that when you have more engaged families, you have students that perform better. And that engagement can be anywhere. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what makes a quality after school program, but also how do we get those quality staff in? And once we get them, how do we keep them? You don't have to go very far. We tried to go to lunch on Monday in Morgantown, and Black Bear was closed on Monday because they didn't have enough staff. And so, not only are you trying to recruit quality staff, everybody is trying to get people to work for them. And I think that you'll agree that there are some definite characteristics of after school program staff that you want to make sure that your staff have. So I have to make sure that I click the right button to go on. So these are the objectives for our session today. Basically, I want to talk about what is quality staff. What does that mean? What are quality after school programs? How can we look at strengths and challenges of our current programs and what we've faced or what we're going through now with staffing, and maybe learn from others that are participating today? I have some strategies that are evidence-based, research-based strategies to help you with recruitment. There are programs that we work with. We work a lot with the Preston County After School Explorers program, and getting staff right now is not always an easy thing. And so some different strategies for where to look for staff that you may not have thought about before. And then finally, ways to recruit and retain high quality staff. So here's my first question for you. And we don't have a poll, so I just would like you to enter in the chat. Do you think that the importance of quality staff is greater than, less than, or equal to the importance of quality programming? So again, greater than, less than, or equal to quality staff and quality programming. So if you'll just enter the symbol in the chat. See a lot of equal to responses. I see a greater than. I see a plus. I'm not sure what that one is. Let's see what plus sign is with. Oh, that one's probably equal to, because that's the same key. So it looks like, a majority feel like that it's equal to, and few responses are still coming in. That's great. But I think as you think about your staff and somebody coming, you must have a good staff for a successful program. And I think that that's exactly right. And I think that there have been many times in the past that it's been issues with staff that has impacted overall how successful a program has been. One of the sessions that I've done a lot that I think is so important. And again, these aren't things that we forget about, but they're things that we get so busy, they get pushed to the wayside. But customer service, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later, but think about that in terms of your staff, your programming, and some experiences that you've had in the past as we go through the rest of this information. So, excuse me. The next thing I'm going to do is actually a part of Mentimeter. And the question that I have for you is, in your opinion, what are some key characteristics of quality after school program staff? And how you're going to respond to that is by going to menti.com, and you'll see on the screen before you, there's a code. The code is 10806770. So it's menti.com. I'm going to put this in the chat for you. And then 10806770. So go into Menti and enter some of the key characteristics of, I probably should say, good or quality after school staff. And what you're going to see before you is a word cloud. And basically, the more often a word is mentioned, the larger or more bold that you'll see it. So as people start using the same word, you'll see some of these words kind of stand out a little more than others. So we're seeing things like independent. Patient is one that's popping up quite a bit. Structured, invested, well-rounded, respectful, nurturing, competent. Lots more coming in. Kind is getting bigger. Patient, we have another one that's coming in on the chat that says patient. And reliable, problem solver, collaborative, absolutely. Energetic, I think you're exactly right. After the end of the day, when kids have been in the classroom all day and now are staying for some extra support or enrichment, it takes someone that's energetic. So you can see more coming in, hard worker. We still have structured, reliable, and patient as some of our larger, kind of more prominent words. So as those continue to come in, can I get a volunteer to maybe unmute yourself and share for me why you put the word that you did? Particularly if you included creative, reliable, or patient, because it looks like we had several that provided those words. Anyone willing to share? It doesn't even have to be that. Anybody willing to share why they included the word that they did? Oh, you can't unmute yourselves. Well, then nobody can tell me. So if somebody would like to put it in the chat, then we'll be able to see what you have to say. Sorry, I didn't realize that you couldn't talk. But all of these things are excellent. And I think, when you think about trustworthiness, compassionate, calm, creative, they're all excellent characteristics. So as you're thinking about those characteristics, and not only the ones that you entered or the one that you entered, but all of the ones that you see before you on the screen, think about your program and think about your program staff and ask yourself, do I and does my staff have these similar characteristics? Children are very energetic, so being patient is very important. Exactly. Reliable because I work for a small public library, and without reliable people to help, we can't do any of the programming. And that's especially important right now when we're thinking about recruitment of staff. When your program doesn't have enough staff, and if someone calls off or someone is sick and you don't have a backup, I keep seeing posts with bus drivers that they don't have enough subs, and so the buses aren't running. When dealing with school-age children, you must be understanding and be able to change things happening in a minute. This age group is very different every day, hour, and minute. Absolutely. And enthusiastic. Children deserve someone after school who is excited to be with them. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of those. And all of those are again, there's not a right answer to this, but I think you see the importance. And I like the structure. I like that structured was mentioned on here. And we have a comment: structure is necessary for consistent routines and procedures, which are important for all, but especially those who live in chaotic environments or who struggle with anxiety. Sometimes the structure of the school day and the after school program are the only structured environments that children see. So we want to make sure that they know what to expect. They know what faces are going to be there each day. They know what happens when they get there in the first 15 minutes, and then what happens in subsequent minutes to that each day. So thank you for sharing those both in the word cloud and your thoughts. But as you think about your program and your program staff, think about these characteristics as well. And you'll recognize some of these same things that were in the list that you created on the word cloud. Key characteristics: the staff possess hard skills and soft skills. So what that means is we need them to be knowledgeable in the content that they're delivering, but also in all of those things that you said on the previous screen as well. We need them to be patient. We need them to be understanding. We need them to help create that structure. Some of the other things I think that I saw on the other slide is we need them to be confidential with the information that's going on. We have children in our programs that are really struggling with a lot of difficult things. And so we need our staff to be able to handle those things with confidence, as well as issues with staff. So we want to make sure that the staff possess those hard skills and soft skills. Demonstrate strong communication skills, both verbal and written. And again, if you think back to why our equal to sign, that our program staff and our programs that they're equal to one another, it's extremely important to make sure that those communication skills that your staff have are welcoming, are open. When people are picking up their children, and I'm thinking family engagement world here, but we want people to be approachable. If there's something that's going on with that child, be able to explain it to the family member that's picking them up, or to the caregiver that's picking them up, in a compassionate way, but be able to say what's going on, both verbal and written. Also, that goes a long way with the collaboration of staff in making sure that people are there supporting one another, but in a strong communicative sort of way. The next one, staff committed to continuous learning and improvement. We wouldn't be here today if we were not committed to making sure that our staff were trained, that we were trained well enough to be able to take information back to them. We provide ongoing professional development, like I said, with the Preston County program. But professional development, there's always something to learn. There's always something new. Even if it's something that you've done for years. Someone had said, kids change every day, things change every day. And we have to remember, we're not wanting to dwell on COVID, but COVID changed a lot for people. And so thinking about making sure that the staff is continuously learning, continuously improving. And this was mentioned as well, displays the ability to multitask in an ever-changing environment. I don't know about you, but most programs that I have seen or even been supporting in different ways, there are many, many, many things going on at one time. That doesn't mean that it's chaotic and unstructured. It just means, you have students that are completing one task, you have students that are completing another task, you have students that are participating in activities, so there's always things going on. And if you have someone that isn't able to quickly adjust to those ever-changing environmental stimuli, then you get someone that's very overwhelmed. And if you think that your students in your program and your attendees in your program can't sense that overwhelming feeling that staff may have, you're very wrong. And when they sense that, they take that information and they go tell other people, and they do the same thing in the classroom. So you want someone that is able to multitask in that ever-changing environment. And then finally, demonstrates professionalism and the ability to develop positive relationships with attendees and staff. And I want to stop right there with that one for just a minute. And I hate that you can't unmute yourselves, but you can type in the chat if you're able to. But I want to ask why is that professionalism, and why is that ability to develop those relationships with attendees and staff important for your program, important characteristic for your staff to have? As you're typing, I'm looking at some of the other comments that came in. Losing our patience with them will not create an environment letting them know we are there for them. That is exactly right. Thank you for sharing that. So it's not like a regular chat. Oh, there we go. They are role modeling for children, and we are representation of the program as a whole. Therefore, professionalism important. That's exactly right. And we know that the idea or the ability for a student to have that one trusted adult is extremely important. And when you look at your program and you think about your staff, you want to say, what if that is the one person that child feels that they can go to with an issue that they have? Is that a positive relationship that can be formed? As a private center, we're like family. The children pick up on this and start to feel like they're our family as well, and they know that they're loved. I love that. Difficult conversations happen best when relationships are built. Relationships are everything, and it makes care, team building, culture building that much better and stronger. professionalism combined with positivity creates an environment where children want to be. That is, and I'm glad, I like whenever people's names, because Michelle, that's perfect. That is exactly right. And that positive environment is what we want to think about and we want to look at, but you can't create that environment without the staff there to support that. So continue to enter that information as you want. The next column over talks about programs and key characteristics of quality programming. So for staff to perform well, they need to understand what their expectations are, what their roles are, and what their responsibilities are. And when there is confusion among staff and among program members of what those things are, that kind of breaks down the things. And those family relationships that Sabrina talked about, they kind of go away because people don't know what other people are supposed to be doing. They don't personally know themselves what they're supposed to be doing. So defining your staff expectations, roles, and responsibilities is important. Along those same lines, this ongoing feedback and evaluation lets other people know, lets your staff know how they're doing. I had a supervisor tell me once that if an evaluation is a surprise to someone, then their leader is not doing their job, that those evaluations should never come as a surprise to a staff member. So by providing ongoing evaluation and feedback, and those are not easy conversations to have. Brandy mentioned difficult conversations, and you're going to have those. You probably have them on a regular basis. But when you're building the relationship and you have the ability to provide a staff person with constructive criticism, it helps your program grow and it helps your staff grow. The next key characteristic offers a safe and supportive environment. We want children to know that, and we want families to know that when their children come to us, that they are safe, that they're being supported in whatever it is that they need. And so we have to demonstrate that. We want it to be apparent. We don't just want to say we offer a safe and supportive environment, but we want to talk about how. Structured programming, we talked about that. There are many comments about structured programming. Value family and student voice. And a lot of what we do for family engagement and a lot of what I've done in the past for after school programming has been based on family voice and student voice. And we know that something as simple as letting a student choose what activity they do first, or letting them choose from 3 different activities, helps them to, number one, build decision-making capabilities, but also they then feel like they got to choose. They had the ability to voice what they liked, what they wanted, and how it would best work for them during that day. Again, the same thing is true for families. We want to ask them what they would like to see in our program. We want to ask them for that same ongoing evaluation and feedback. However, the worst thing that you can do is ask your families or your students for feedback, whether it's by a survey, focus group, however you connect with them, and then don't do anything with it. And many, many times surveys are done and you have, whether it's students or families, sit there and say, well, I'm not even going to waste my time because they don't do anything with it anyway. So when you do something with information that has been gathered from families, from students, brag about it. Make sure you point that out. If you now serve chocolate milk on Wednesdays because the kids say they like chocolate milk, say something as simple as, we serve chocolate milk on Wednesdays because that's what we heard from our students. If you change something in your, I'm thinking pickup procedures, because of feedback that you got from a family or from families or caregivers, make sure you recognize that, because then suddenly people see, wait a second, they're not just coming up with these things because that's the way they want to do it. They value our time, they value our input, and they're making changes or adjustments based on what we want to see. And the last one on the key characteristics of programs, is connected to an extension of school day learning and staff. And some of the programs are not based at schools. Many of the programs are, and you need to be sure that you're listening to the program or to the school day staff. You're communicating with them on what the child needs, and then also sharing with them what's going on in the after school program. So, somebody said, it takes a village, and the same is true when we look at school day learning, school day staff, and out of school time programming. One of the things that we talked about in the past was that, you have learning that goes on during the school day. And for example, if it's math and they're learning their multiplication tables, and if we don't know that as the after school program provider, and they come to us and we say, well, we're going to do division today. Well, they may not have gotten to division. And I know, we used to have scope and sequence, and, those things look very different now. So that relationship and that communication then is supportive, a two-way support. And you get after school programs supporting the classroom and classroom teachers and what's going on there supporting the after school programs. So again, in looking at this list, I'm looking back over too at the responses. Everything is built on relationships. If we don't develop positive relationships with attendees, parents, and others, poor culture and others won't want to be there. And, when we have programs, especially those, if you have a program that is paid for by the parents, or if you have a program that is grant funded and you start having a situation where students aren't showing up because these things aren't being met, the staff characteristics are not present, the program does not have some of these quality characteristics, you start to see numbers drop off. And when numbers drop off, programs will go away. If there's not enough students there, staff don't necessarily always stay. And if you don't have students coming back, you really need to look at the why and do a little bit of seeking and getting some feedback on your program and on your staff to see what might be causing that, because there could be a lot of different reasons, but until you get down to that underlying cause, you won't be able to necessarily address it directly. So when you look at the key characteristics that are on this screen, and you look at the staff, you look at the programs, which one do you feel is the most important characteristic to make sure your staff or your program has? And you can use the chat to input that. Which is the most important in your opinion? Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're getting a lot for professionalism and relationships and safe and supportive environment. I like that, Christina. Safe and supportive environment, professionalism. So a lot for both of those. And I think that, oh, somebody got unmuted. I selected the unmute button. They may be able to unmute themselves. Okay. So if you would like to speak instead of typing in something, feel free to try to unmute yourself. It looks like that our support person was able to unmute. So you should be hopefully able to unmute if you'd like to say something. So again, a lot for professionalism and leadership. Nope, still can't unmute. Thanks, Casey, for checking. That's okay. We'll just keep using the chat and we'll figure it out. So the importance of overall out of school time programming, after school programming, extended learning, whatever you want to call it, on the students. After School Alliance put out a study, and we know all of these things. This is not new information, but when you really step back and think about it, and think about what kids, what students, what our students that we see in our programs every day have been through over the last, year and a half to 2 years, it causes you to kind of stop and really recognize how much more important after school programs are now. So engages students in learning. Again, like I said, these are not brand new things. These are not things that that you'll look at and say, oh, I didn't realize that, it really engages them in learning. It's just, think about it now and think about how it might look different now. Promotes gains in math and reading. I had a superintendent tell me that every student is behind now. Even those that did exceptionally well in remote learning, they're behind because they didn't have the opportunity to learn in the classroom and to learn to keep up with as much as they would have been able to had they been in the classroom. And a lot of that was just difficulty of some of the content and not being there to be able to engage face-to-face. Again, improve grades, increases attendance, provides a safe place for students after school hours. Depending on where your program is, safety looks a little bit different. We've worked it with programs in, the city in Pennsylvania and some of the areas that I had only, before we started working there years ago, I had ever heard was the news and the bad things that happen there. And so I was doing a site visit one day, and I was standing there talking to the director, and I said, so where is this bad part of this area that I see about on TV all the time? And she said, well, you're standing right in the middle of it. She said, after dark, that's when things start happening. And that area is kind of, there was a lot of gang activity, but that area was kind of a safe haven. And the gangs kind of stayed away from there because they knew that the kids were there after school hours. And so that safety, again, like I said, obviously looks different in Preston County where I live, but it serves as a place for children to go to be safe, to get support that they need that they may not be getting in the home. And a lot of times it's nourishment, it's food, it's dinner, it's a snack that they may not get once they get into their home. Positive impact on graduation rates, prepare students for college and career. Sometimes I think we forget that after school will sometimes expose students to things that they would never be exposed to otherwise. And I know a lot of programs partner with different outside organizations to bring in, whether it's guest speakers or individuals that use, that have different skill sets to do activities. And that really is eye-opening for a lot of students who didn't realize that that was a job, that they didn't know that if they really enjoyed being outside, that they could be a natural resources officer. That information comes to them, by way of those presentations, those conversations that they have, those activities that they complete. Develops a positive STEM mindset. For those of you that are participating in the STEM and family engagement community of practice, we talk a lot about STEM, and we all know what STEM means, but sometimes we shy away from the science and the technology, engineering, math, because they're scary, and we don't necessarily know how to help students develop that mindset. But when you really step back and look at it and see what it is, it's nothing more than a different way of thinking. It's problem solving. It's sequential ordering of things that can help students not only be a scientist or a mathematician or an engineer, but it can help them in any of the different areas that they choose to go into. It builds employable skills, and the research shows that the benefits of out of school time programming last into adulthood. So again, think about your students. Think about what whether you had to close down during the pandemic, whether you had to reduce the hours you were open, whether you had to be completely virtual, and think about how that has impacted those students and what you need to do to make sure that your staff and your program are providing that quality programming, that quality experience that continue to make these things continue to hold the importance and help students achieve all of the things that they have been able to in the past. So it's not a good presentation unless we talk about data. And so I captured a couple different evaluation studies of 21st century programs. One was in Colorado, one was in Virginia. And the Colorado study was done in 2020, and it talked, and the reason I chose these two is because one was based on teacher reporting and one was based on student reporting and student feedback. And the Colorado evaluation said that teachers, based on teacher feedback, among students in need of improvement, an overwhelming majority saw improvements in their classroom participation, motivation to learn, and attentiveness in class. Those very same things are some of the things that were broken down during remote learning. And so when they are able to attend a structured program, when they're able to attend a program that possesses some of those characteristics that we talked about with staff that have some of those same characteristics that we talk about, they see improvement in these participation, motivation to learn, and attentiveness. When you look at the next column over, the Virginia site-wide evaluation, they talked to students, and 76% of the students who regularly participated in the Virginia program agreed that the program helped them learn the knowledge and skills needed to be ready for a job or career. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, and it exposes them to things that they may not ever knew existed. And this, it goes on to the next one that says that 71% said that it helped them learn what's necessary for trade school or college. And so it doesn't matter, what the child wants to do after school, whether they want to go straight into the workforce, whether they want to go on to another post-secondary type of learning, college, trade school. But what matters is that they're benefiting, they're getting something from the time that they're spending in out-of-school time programs. And so we want to make sure that the quality of those programs and the quality of that staff that are supporting those programs are top-notch, are making a difference. So relationships matter. Again, this is a little more data. We talked about relationships. Several people commented how important the relationships were in the characteristics. That developmental relationship with program staff and out of school time, again, because of the smaller groups that often are able to be formed in out of school time programs, students will form that bond. They'll find that one important person among the after school program staff. So strong developmental relationships, says 70%, compared to staff in student support programs, which was 62%, and then teachers in school at 40%. And I don't think, I saw that when I first saw that, I thought, geez, that really can make the teachers feel bad. But I don't think it's a matter of that they don't. I think that there's a larger student body. It is sometimes more difficult. You see different teachers for an hour each day. So thinking about that 40% in comparison to the relationships of after school program staff and that 70%, we want to make sure that those relationships are professional, are I'm trying to think of that are supportive, that it's safe, that those soft skills are being relayed to students, but really that they know that there's someone, that the staff care, that they're like family. And it says the next bullet says, relationships positively impact youth development, where close to 2 in 3 youth who reported strong relationships had higher rated social and emotional competencies. And again, we are looking at a lot of programs that are adding social and emotional supports right now because of some of the things that that students face during closure. Someone said all students experience some sort of trauma because lives completely changed. So they had a higher rated social emotional, including self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, social awareness, and relationship skills. And we think about some of our middle and high school students, and they're getting to, we'll say those formative years, but responsible decision-making and social awareness are extremely important when it gets to that age. And so building those relationships, and knowing that it's okay to allow time for that. One of the things that we've talked about in the Preston program is that, as it's starting up, this is all new for the kids. Once again, it's going to look a little bit different because even last year it was completely remote. So giving yourself time, letting your staff know that the relationships are important, and you want to give them the time that they need to build those relationships with the students. Okay, here's what I'd like you to do. I'm going to ask our support person to randomly put you in 3 breakout rooms. And I would like you to, let me see how many people we have here before I say 3. Tavia, how many total attendees do we have?
Hi, Jennifer. There are about 40 attendees, and we think we found a fix to the mic situation. So,
okay, well, when they come back, we'll see if they can. We'll see if. Well, let's see.
I need the mics for the chat. So,
so hopefully, why don't you go ahead? Decide. Should they be able to unmute now?
Yes, if we could test it before we send them to breakouts.
Okay, Casey, will you test it? Because you've been my person, Casey Griffith.
She says it works.
Is it working?
Oh, yes.
Ta-da!
It's so good to hear someone talk, let me tell you. Okay, so what I'm going to ask Tavia to do is to actually break you out into 3 breakout groups. And what I'd like you to do in that breakout group is identify and then discuss amongst yourselves a challenge or challenges that you're currently experiencing with recruitment or retention in your program. And obviously the goal of this is to hear from others that are like-minded, that are experiencing some of the same thing, and hopefully get some solutions to maybe some of the challenges that you're having. So now that everyone can talk, that's wonderful. If you would go into your breakout room, you'll have about, I'm going to give you about 7 minutes. So 7 minutes from now. So once you get in there, we will give you a warning, and then it kind of imports you back into this session, into this main session. So Tavia, if you would go ahead and put them in their breakout groups. As a reminder, you're talking about a challenge or challenges you're experiencing with staff recruitment and or retention within your program.
Okay, the rooms are open, and we can send a message to them when we're
Okay.
at the 2-minute mark before it ends, if that works for you.
Yes, that'd be great. It looks like some people are still hopping over and joining. I'm gonna hop over into breakout group 1 and just check and see how it's going. And then when I come back, Tavia, can you put me in the others as well? Can you put me into each one? I just want to check and make sure that they're doing okay and that they remember the question.
Yes, I can move you.
Okay, I'll go to 1 first and then I'll come back out and you can send me to 2.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
They're getting a lot of feedback in the other room for some reason.
Oh, what do you think is causing it? Is too many people with their mics open at once?
Well, and I asked them to mute and I don't know. I'm not sure, but I think it was getting better when I hopped back out. So I think I'll just let them continue to talk. I need to share my screen again. Okay.
Do you want to pop into another room?
No, I forgot that it unshares my screen every time I do that. So I'll just let them, they were chatting and sharing. So I'll just let them continue. What time do we finish? 11:15?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
All right, we have 2 minutes left.
Okay.
And Jennifer, I have to open the other breakout room right at 11:15. So because you're still my session speaker. We can
Oh.
both go together, or if you need more than 10 minutes before we close out this one.
I think
Let me know.
it'll, yeah, I think we can just go together as soon as we finish up here,
Okay,
if that
great.
works for you.
All right, it's 5 after. Do we want to bring them
Yeah.
back? No?
Go ahead and bring them back in.
Okay, thank you.
Looks like everyone is starting to come back over. I apologize. I know we had some issues with being able to hear in the one room. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but hopefully you were able to at least discuss a little bit during the time that you were in there. So is anyone willing, now that I know that you can talk, to share just a little bit of the experience that you had from the breakout? Did you identify a challenge? Did you talk through, something that maybe you had experienced that someone else had a suggestion for, or vice versa? What did you talk about? What challenges were you having?
I was in group 3, and we
Okay.
talked about college education majors are really good ones, work around their schedules. I have one girl that works Monday, Fridays, and then another girl that works Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday around their class schedules. And now that most class schedules are virtual and work on your own, they're able to do that. And they like the trainings that we give them because they're major and they're really good with the kids.
Okay, excellent, excellent.
And we talked about how it seems like it's hard just to recruit people, that people have tried Indeed and that isn't the best resource. Several people didn't speak real positively about that.
10.
Okay, good. Thank you. And that the college education majors, I think that's excellent. And that's, you do have a little more flexibility from those individuals now that they are sometimes participating in their classes virtually. Anything else that stood out in your conversations? Is anybody just having just no problem at all with recruitment? They've got lots of staff, everything that they need for their program. Okay, I know it's a struggle. It's a challenge for everyone. So thank you for kind of bearing with us in the breakout room. I know it was a little bit feedback-ish and I think staticky, but hopefully, like I said, you were able to have a little bit of a conversation there. The other thing that I'll share with you, the recruiting and retaining, these are some of the areas that I was able to identify that maybe you hadn't thought about before, or maybe you have, and just, either have or have not had success. And I liked this statement here, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The skills, abilities, and attitudes of the staff will directly affect the quality of the after-school program. And I think all of our equal signs in the very beginning and a lot of the comments that we saw shows that to be true. Partners and other local agencies, when you're looking for staff, contacting partners, contacting those folks that, maybe some of those that you bring in for presentations for the students and ask if they have a way to get information out that you're looking for staff. Current and former staff, if there's a way to set up, recruitment within them and offer them a little bit of an incentive if that's possible. If not, just asking them, do they know anybody that would be interested in working for the program that would be good working for the program? Local staffing agencies, a lot of there are job services in most agencies. There are other agencies that help individuals find jobs. Workforce West Virginia, when you think about where you can advertise what you have to offer. Social media obviously is one, but it's not necessarily the one, because we know a lot of people don't use social media either because they don't have access to it, or oftentimes it's because of the connectivity isn't the best where they live. Consider a referral program. Again, that could go from staff that you currently have that may refer someone for a position. And then finally, current families or alumni. If you have contact information with families, they know what your program is about. And you would be surprised at some of the skills that those individuals have that they didn't know that you really were looking for someone, or they didn't know that their skills would make them a good fit for your program. So those are just some of the ones that I put together. I like the college education majors that I wrote down there. And it's interesting that Indeed didn't work. We had similar experiences with trying to hire through Indeed. And I think a lot of it was that we were hiring for a remote position. And so people from all over the world were applying. And not necessarily paying attention to what the qualifications were for the job. So I agree with some of that. We've had success with Indeed before, but most recently we really have not. So job descriptions. This is something that when you're hiring, make sure they're clear, concise, and specific. And that might seem like, well, of course you would want to do that. But sometimes when you try to put too much in, that roles and responsibilities portion that we talked about in the beginning becomes blurry. And then when it's time to do evaluation, or when it's time to talk to someone, if you have a staff member that is maybe not performing as you would like them to, it muddies the water when you're having that evaluation and when you're providing that feedback. So most people will do what they're asked to do if they know what it is they're being asked to do. So just make sure that the job descriptions that they're being given are as clear, concise, and specific as possible. Recruiting and retaining quality staff, and in order to retain the staff once you get them, make sure they're prepared for the job. A lot of times when you're looking for staff and it's something that has to happen quickly, you get them and you put them in the classroom or the program because you need a body there, but really make sure that they're prepared. Provide ongoing professional development, both in the content that they're delivering as well as the youth development. Provide that ongoing assessment and improvement opportunities. Make sure that You're giving feedback on a regular basis, and that the same goes true. Be open to feedback from your staff. If you're a program director and you have staff that have good ideas, that have valuable information, be open to that. And finally, positive staff and student relationships. Those relationships will be why many of your staff stay. And so setting the stage, providing an environment for those positive relationships to be built will help you both recruit and retain. We have some comments here, people not wanting to work for minimum wage. We're having problem finding qualified applicants and staying. It's difficult to compete when you have Paywise and other jobs like fast food. And Christina said, I try to hire and train efficiently. I like to spend time with them in the classroom, and when they see the precedence of the owner, it helps. Also, we try to do team building activities outside of work. Excellent. Those are all excellent ideas. And those of you that are having a hard time competing with fast food, and you know that, try to come up with what makes your job better, and really use that and sometimes it's the dollar, almighty dollar is most powerful. But if you can try to show people why your program, why working in your program is better than those fast food jobs, maybe you'll spark some interest from those folks that may have previously just taken the dollar more and gone with it. So we are running out of time, which usually happens in sessions that I do. I try to make sure that I have enough content. But if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. That's my email address at the bottom. Like I said, we work with schools all across the state. And I'm always interested and anxious to work with additional out of school time programs just to help them in whatever way is needed, whether it's best practices, professional development, whatever is needed. So thank you for your time today. And the very last thing I would like for you to do, if you could, is if you could provide just some quick feedback, again, using Mentimeter and the code that's before you, the 10806770, then we will end our time here for today. And I look forward to hopefully hearing from some of you again soon. Tavia, did you have your hand up for something else, or was it up from earlier? She may be in the other room. Okay.
We have to make transition now.
Okay, so thank you, everyone.
All right, bye-bye.